Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to another edition of DIY Money.
DIY Money.
DIY Money. I'm here with Logan today. Yes, Logan.
Happy to be here.
New superstar on the web.
Kind of becoming a regular. I like it.
You are a regular. It is awesome. Do you have stalkers yet?
Not
Crazy
yet.
People sliding into your DM?
You know, who knows? We'll see. After these couple episodes come out, who knows?
We're glad to have Logan. He's been filling in. If you're on YouTube, and you probably can't see it, but Logan is a man of socks.
I have some cool socks. You have to be creative,
Logan,
especially in the financial world where you're just, you know.
Today, Logan's socks are gray and red.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we went up on the YouTube, and they're lobsters, which you probably can't see. Literal lobsters, red lobsters. Those suckers have been in the pot.
Yep.
They came out of the pot. You know, when I was a kid, we would get lobster. So I have an interesting story about this because my father was a broker, started in the 70s, yada, yada. It was very successful. There was, boom times, especially in the early 80s. We would often buy lobsters, live lobsters, and some people won't like this, but that's fine. I love lobster. We would put them on the floor in the kitchen to kind of crawl around, and we would see them I would get down with them, and I thought they were like my pets.
That's horrible. Right before you cooked them.
Yeah, and that was bad. But the story there was we did all those fun things, and then 1987 happened, and we never had lobster again.
Yeah,
more 1987, for those of you who don't know market history, was a crash in October, Black Monday, or Tuesday. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was a black week, and it was ugly. It was ugly. The irony of that crash, though, people don't understand. The market still ended positive for the year, even though we didn't see a big bounce after that. And it was primarily because we crashed from levels. We were up 35% on the year and then fell apart, crash. And then, still, again, if you snoozed under a tree and woke up, you'd be like, oh, market was only up 2% this year. But if you were speculating on the way up, which a lot of people were doing, they got crushed.
Yeah.
It was ugly. And obviously a lot of stocks went down more than 30-some% as the Dow did. Anyways, okay, let's get back.
I've never actually had lobster.
What?
Never. Yeah.
Seriously?
No, never.
Lobster bisque. You've never had. Oh, okay.
None of it.
Challenge accepted. No problem. Do we have any clients in the New England area? We can go up there. I've never gone to the New England area for lobster.
I mean, you get the real deal.
Oh, yeah, and it's not $1 million.
True.
Is my understanding. I don't know. I'd love to do it. We have to make a. If you're out in the New England area, you're a lobster person, and you just send us an email.
Yeah,
we'll come visit.
Absolutely,
we'll do a show from there.
That would be amazing.
That would be awesome. We need to start taking this
from a little lobster place.
Yes,
in the restaurant,
crack lobster with our bibs on and everything.
Perfect.
That would be awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
People who are they are vegan, they are hating us right now. My mother's vegan. So shout out to my mother who's vegan. I try not to eat that much.
Playing with the lobster in the kitchen.
Maybe she was like, no more of this. All right, we gotta get on task. Bro talk done. No more bro talk. All right, we got a great question today about capital gains house sales from Bahar. Bahar, what do you got?
Hey guys, Bahar here. Huge fan of the podcast. I have a question on investing and saving a large lump sum of money. I recently sold my first home and received the profits of that, which is about $95,000. It's not subject to capital gains as far as I know, or I should say capital gains tax. So I believe I get to keep the whole amount. My question is, what should I do with this money? My boyfriend thinks I should invest it all into the stock market, but I think that's a little risky. I'd like to invest some and save some, possibly in a high yield account, but I'm not really sure how to go about it. Any help you can give would be great. Thanks so much.
Okay. First of all, bravo. Sounds like you bought and sold at the right time. I'm curious on where you're living, right? Because, I'm not going to assume she said my first home. I'm assuming she doesn't have a second and a third home.
Right.
I'm assuming this meant that this was her first home and she had owned it and then sold it, etc. So I think that the first thing that needs to be addressed, Bahar, is what's the future plan of owning another home? Because if the idea is, well, I've sold this home and I'm just going to, I don't know, this is dangerous, but my boyfriend and I got an apartment for a while. We're going to get married, and then we're going to buy a home together. I'm just making some stuff up here. Well, then you have a limited time that you're going to be, using this money or investing or whatever until you're going to turn around and put it down on another home. So that needs to be addressed. So I think let's assume that's the case, and the idea is eventually you're going to buy another home, and this is going to be a down payment. I don't like the boyfriend's suggestion at all. In fact, Jim, Joe, whatever your name is, no, absolutely not. You're not investing that, because if this is going to go to your future home and all of a sudden the market takes a dump, which I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, you're going to be going, well, number one, Bahar is going to be totally pissed off at you and your terrible suggestion, and then you're going to have to sell at Lowe's and whatever. I mean, it's just no good. Terrible idea. So if this money is earmarked for a future home, you keep it safe. Like real safe, and you don't do anything with it. High yield savings account.
I know we've talked about it on some other shows and stuff, but
it's a good break-in, by the way. Very nice. They encourage that on television, national television. Like they get in your ear and they're like, "Jump in there, jump in there." Literally, they do. It's very good. You got your knack for it.
Well, when you're talking about that, if you're doing earmark, what is kind of your time horizon where you're like, "Hey, this probably shouldn't be invested"?
5 years.
Okay, 5-year time
5
period.
years.
Okay.
And then I would reduce risk for every year thereafter.
Okay.
Like she's like, it's 6 years. Well, that doesn't mean you go hog wild with $90-some thousand. Maybe you go 50-50 or, 60-40 invested and 40% in fixed income or safe, etc. So, but 5 years. So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay. But let's say that's not the case. Let's say the boyfriend, we have a wedding. I'm just making this whole thing up. I'm telling him they're getting married and all the rest of the stuff. It's okay. Assuming they get on the same page financially. All right. So Ben, you better get on the same page with Bahar. Anyways, I'll get one of them right.
Yeah.
Oh, did I tell you that I nailed the guy who called in?
Oh, I saw that. You
California.
You nailed it. Long Island.
Nailed it.
Yeah, grew up on Long Island.
He had grown up in Long Island.
You got it down.
It.
So I'm sure Ben, Jeff, or whatever, you probably already got that one down too.
All right. So anyways, let's assume that Ben has a home and Bahar is going to move into that. And so this is money that's long-term. So then now we're talking about, again, no home in the equation. Now we're talking about making sure you funded Roth IRAs for 2021 and then, subsequent years thereafter. How much is for, retirement? Let's say that there's, I still have some car debt, student loan debt, maybe knock that debt out. These are just practical steps in the DIY money progression. So just because you came into a windfall doesn't mean you don't follow all those steps. Now, my final thing is, let's say no home, no debt. Now we're investing for the long haul. Okay, and I'm going to assume emergency fund is set up, fast cash is there. All that stuff is done, right? DIY money book, the basics are done. Okay, now it's a matter of no different than long-term investing in your 401k, et cetera. And the previous podcast that we did where Daniel talked about index funds, et cetera, is Roth IRA. If you can do it, invest in that. Index funds, target date funds, whatever. Then start setting up an individual account. Same thing. Target date funds, invest, et cetera. Now, if that's the case, I would agree with the boyfriend, Sam, because then you should be investing for the long haul. It's not about, is it risky or is it not? It's not about that. It's about long-term investing goals, objectives. So 3 different scenarios, whether you're buying a house or not. Second scenario, again, assuming you got everything else taken care of. Third scenario is it's all taken care of. Now we're going to invest it. I don't know. I don't know if I really answered her question or just...
Well, I think you also alluded to when you have questions of big portions of money and stuff, it's about goals and what your real goals are. But it also doesn't all have to go to the same place. So you said, maybe some of this is for long-term. You go 100% invested if it's all long-term. But maybe she has a goal of a car in a couple of years and she wants to have $10,000 set aside for that and then have the other $80,000 or so put somewhere else and put in the markets for long-term retirement goals, things like that. So it's about setting those goals up and then making a plan for the future and putting it in the right asset classes for that. But one of the other things she mentioned at the very beginning was what taxes she may need to pay on that. And it sounded like she had I just wanted to quickly mention, if it's your primary home residence and you sell it, you have a $250,000 capital gains before you have to pay taxes.
Assuming you've been there for 2 years.
Yeah, assuming you've been there for 2 years. So she's spot on with that. What would you recommend? This is something I kind of heard throughout the question. You're married, and maybe Bahar gets married to Ben or whoever.
Yeah.
What do you think about coming in with risk tolerances between the two people? So when you kind of mix that up.
So great. I never touched on risk tolerance, and I didn't do that because it sounds like Bahar's young, and I kind of want her to get over the hump of of risk aversion and so forth. But risk tolerance is a big deal, and it sounds like Peter is very risky. Bahar is not. So that's going to have to be a blend. Now the difficulty, Bahar, is if you marry Sam, Jim, whatever his name is, okay? This money you're bringing in, it's now joint money. And I know psychologically you might struggle with that, but in my personal opinion, you need to kind of check that at the door, which means you need to be on the same page financially. You need to have your goals in line. You need to be talking about this stuff. Make sure Luke listens to the podcast, all the rest of that stuff. But the bottom line is that when you're married, now it's joint goals, making sure... I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold it. Sorry. That's great.
I was dying.
You're making sure that your goals are in line, your risk tolerance is talked about, et cetera. And it might be. We deal with this all the time, where you have... Stop cracking me up. Where you have people who have different risk tolerance, and we have to kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Sometimes we have accounts that are different. Even though it's collective money, we have accounts that are different risk tolerance, et cetera. But you have to respect other people's risk tolerance as well. I'm going to give a selfish plug, but I think Bahar is a great candidate for our wealth development program. I mean, it is. She is.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this is a lot of money. It's not a lot of money to some people, but it is a lot of money. And I think you would not normally think, Bahar, I need an advisor, but that's why we have the wealth development program.
Right.
Is somebody just like yourself, is a young professional that either has money, coming into money, et cetera, and you don't want to break the bank hiring an advisor, and you don't need them, to review everything. But those strategic steps to make sure you stay in alignment, I think would be very, very helpful for Bahar. So again, that's a selfish plug. We don't do that much on this show at all, intentionally. But on our site, Jewel Financial, we can't say Retirement KY because people are all over the country. Jewel Financial, we have a section that literally is titled Wealth Development. You can check that out.
Yeah, check it out. It's a great 1-year program to answer questions like these.
Yeah.
It's very tailored to your goals, like we've mentioned. So figuring out what those goals are is part of the process as well. We're talking to you and communicating with you to figure all those things out.
I feel like we had a really good podcast right now, but did we answer her question? I mean, did we really? Is she going to walk away from this and or is she just going to nod and be like, "Yeah, that was interesting"? I don't really know if we answered.
What would you do if it was you? If it was you when you were, let's say 26, 27 years old.
So the first thing is, again, I think the house thing is big. I can't get away from that. If there's another house on the horizon, then it's a matter of paying down debt that you have right now, making sure you have an emergency fund, and then putting the rest of that money in a safe place for future house purchase. If that's the case, that's the objective I would follow. If everything else was taken care of, then I would follow the, basic investment philosophy of index funds, target date funds, fund the Roth, and don't look at it. That'd be my view. Yeah.
Excellent.
Good. Then there you go. Now we answered the question. At minute 14, I think we finally answered your question. So, all right, Bahar, hey, great job. You're a seller when others are panic buying. So bravo to you. I applaud your efforts. Obviously you have a good real estate eye. Keep that going for you. It's a knack that could benefit you for a very, very long time. Remember, friends, the secret to wealth is very simple. Live on less than you make, invest the rest, and do so for a very long time. Make it a great one.